We want to take the time to honor a Greensboro legend, a key contributor to the civil rights movement, Joseph McNeil, a member of the Greensboro Four. McNeil died yesterday at the age of 83. The ramifications of his actions alongside three other pioneers was a movement that spread like wildfire, one that led to the lives we lead today. In the fight to end segregation, the four young men, freshmen at North Carolina A&T, sat at the all-white lunch counter at Woolworth's in downtown Greensboro. The heat was faced with unimaginable experiences, but their determination sparked a resistance that was replicated all over the South. Their sit-in wasn't the first, but it's one that got the nation's attention. And this morning, we are joined by someone who knows the Greensboro Four and their legacy well, Skip Alston. He is the co-founder and board chair of the International Civil Rights Center and Museum, home to the historic Woolworth's counter. Skip, thank you so much for being with us this morning. I know that you got news early morning yesterday about his passing. How are you feeling right now?
Still feeling sad, but also honored to have known Joseph McNeil and been able to tell the story, keep the story alive at the International Civil Rights Center and Museum so that his memory will never leave us. And that's something that I'm very, very proud of. Joseph McNeil and the Greensboro Four, A&T Four, sometimes we call them, sparked a course of change in our nation. And they would always be remembered for that, not only in the history books, but based on their lives that they lived that truly changed this entire country. And that was something that we would never, ever be able to forget, and we'll always remember him for.
Going off of changing history, they did change history when they sat at the all-white lunch counter at Woolworth's. How does their determination and their courage back then continue to shape our world today?
Well, it shows that ordinary people with extraordinary character can really change the course of history. And you don't have to be old or aged in order to do it. Those were freshman students at A&T State University, 18 years old. And that simple act that they did, that courageous act that they did, changed the course of history. And we have to instill that also in our young people of today. You don't have to wait to get 30 or 40 or 50 years old. You can do it now. And that's what we are hoping that with their story, we always tell and encourage young people. Don't wait to make change. You can do it right now.
Earlier before the show, we were talking and you said the last time you saw Mr. McNeil was at the black and white ball that the museum put on for February 1. What was it like interacting with him then in that moment? And I know you've interacted with him over the years. Is there any moment that stuck out with you?
Well, it was always, he was in a wheelchair. He was kind of a little ill at that point, but he had the courage to come and celebrate with us at the black and white ball this past February. And he still had that glow with him, and that's still that enthusiasm, and that courage was still in his eyes to show that he was still there in order to make sure that we were able to enjoy his time that we had with him, and at the same time know that he's still on the battlefield, coming all the way to Greensboro just to be with us on that day. And he's done that over the years, and that gave us really confidence and knowing that the Civil Rights Center and Museum will always be a good glow for him to be able to tell his history. And he knows that, and his legacy with the International Civil Rights Center and Museum will always be there to be able to tell the story 100 years from now.
So as you said, the museum is built around the countertop, and recently the museum had become a historic landmark, and Mr. McNeil lived to see that, which is a huge feat. What did that mean for you and your team?
Well, it means that our efforts that we did back in 1994 when we bought the building and stopped it from being demolished and made a parking lot was not in vain. This is something that, again, that generations yet unborn would be able to go to and see the lunch counter, not just see a marker about the lunch counter, but be able to see the lunch counter that actually changed the course of history. When those four young men sat down at that lunch counter on February the 1st, 1960s, Martin Luther King Jr. himself, 2 weeks later, said that when those young men sat down at that Woolworth's lunch counter in Greensboro, that changed the course of history and started the modern day civil rights movement in the South. And it did, and would always be remembered for that.
Before we wrap up, anything else you'd like to add about why it's important for us to preserve the history and the legacy of figures like Joseph McNeil and others who have helped change history for generations to come?
We always have to be able to see what our ancestors had to go through in order to appreciate where we are now, so that we won't have to go through the same struggles and make the same mistakes that they might have made, so that we can be able to learn from some of their adventures that they had to go through during the civil rights era. Be able to learn from that, and our young people, so that we need to know our history so that we won't have to repeat our history. And that's what history is all about. That's what the museum is all about, to remind us that we're more united together than divided apart, and that we have to learn to live together as brothers and sisters, as Martin Luther King Jr. said, and not die together as fools. And that's what this museum is all about. That's what the four young men that sat down at the lunch counter, that's what they were saying when they sat down. We are equal. We are just like everybody else. We shouldn't be denied the simple right of being able to eat at a lunch counter. And that's what it means. But the struggle continues, because there are also a lot of other things that we have to take care of in this day and in this time. And that gives us the encouragement that there's those young men who sat down in 1960 can do it and change the course of history. We can change the course of history going forward. And that's what history lessons are all about. And that's what the National Civil Rights Center Museum remind us, that we can be an element of change for generations yet unborn.
Amen. Well, thank you so much, Skip, for joining us this morning as we continue to mourn Mr. McNeil's loss, but his legacy will certainly live on.